On the tee, it is finally here, the 80th playing of the U.S. Women's Open at Erin Hills. And we are live from Erin Hills, just off the driving range. If you're watching via YouTube, maybe you're rooting for, a shank to come our way and kind of clip the back of my and Steven's head. But, I mean, shout out to the USGA, shout out to our friends at Erin Hills for giving us an awesome location for today's show.
Yeah, driving range right behind us. I've been told many times to never have your back to any driving range. We're going to trust that the best women in the world are going to steer clear from us here with this beautiful backdrop at Erin Hills.
Again, this is where you come in, Steven, because your background is in video. And I agreed with you because we both had the same thought. We've got an awesome tent just off the driving range, but we don't want our YouTube viewers to be looking at the white backdrop of a tent. We thought, bring everybody into the experience that is going to be the 80th playing of the U.S. Women's Open. Again, tickets are available, uswomensopen.com. Come out, support this. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are the championship rounds, and look, a lot of great USGA championships are coming to Wisconsin. Not just Erin Hills, as they have 5 more planned here at Erin Hills after this, including the US Am, the US Women's Am, 4 balls, and the US Am is going to be up at Whistling Straits. But I don't know when a major professional championship is coming back to Wisconsin, men or women, to be completely honest. A lot of them are booked out very well in advance. So this is your last opportunity to see a professional major championship for quite some time in the state of Wisconsin, and I think Erin Hills is ready for it.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what the weather is going to be like this week.
Well, you can hear the wind. I mean, the wind is blowing more today than it did all of 2017.
Yeah, I was looking at the weather report for this upcoming weekend, seeing gusts in the mid-20s. Like, let's go, Gabe. This is the problem. Back in 2017, there was not as much national love for Erin Hills because it played too easy. The wind was not up. This golf course needs wind. And we are going to get it this weekend for the best women in the world. And I'm excited to see how they play this golf course.
Feels like it's been the windiest spring of my living in 39 years of living in Wisconsin.
Is it spring yet? Is it spring yet?
After sitting in the sun at the Brewers game yesterday, I'm willing to say yes.
Okay.
Spring is here. But it didn't arrive until Memorial Day.
I want to put something out there just to put into context how special it is that we have this championship at Erin Hills this week and how important it is for people listening to maybe make sure they make it a priority to be out here this weekend. Erin Hills is now the 16th venue to host both the U.S. Open and the U.S. Women's Open. I'm going to rattle off a couple of these golf courses that it's going to be joining. Atlanta Athletic Club, Baltimore Country Club, Baltusrol, Champions Golf Club, Cherry Hills, Colonial, Hazeltine. It gets better. Interlochen, Newport Country Club, Oakmont, the Olympic Club, Pebble Beach, Pinehurst No. 2, Wingfoot, Worcester Country Club, and Erin Hills. When you think about this property, Gabe, this place opened in the mid-2000s. And it's already hosting a men's and a women's U.S. Open. It speaks volumes of what the USGA thinks of this property and the test that this is going to provide the best women in the world. I'm fired up.
Man, what is this, year 20? I mean, it opened in 2006, so this is the 20th season that Erin Hills is open to have, A, the number of USGA championships that they've had, and B, among those to be the 2 crowning jewels of the USGA championships, a men's open and a women's open. Again, it only goes to tell you what kind of golf course we have in the middle of nowhere. I mean, some of the women we were listening to talk today, hey, where are you staying? It's kind of it's not really a part of a metropolitan center. And I don't think anyone counts Hartford as a major metropolitan area. Go Orioles! No offense to anybody there, but again, it takes 45 minutes to get here. It's in the middle of the state. It feels so different than even the women's opens that they had up at Black Wolf.
Yeah.
In 1997 and 2012. So it's a unique championship, and I hope people come out and support it. And if you've had an opportunity to play it, the 9th hole.
Yeah.
Stephen, is always something that gets talked about. And especially if the winds pick up, it could be one of those holes that helps determine the championship. World number 1, Nelly Korda, was talking about the 9th hole earlier today in her press conference.
It's a diabolical green for sure, especially if the wind gets up. It's going to be a very interesting test. I wonder how many groups are going to be on the tee box. But, that's the U.S. Open. It's supposed to test every part of your green. You're supposed to have holes like that, and it's a really cool hole because obviously on the green you look at it and you don't see how sloped the green is. And, if you look at it just from the tee box, it's, you see it's kind of like a shorter par 3, but it's very, very demanding in every aspect.
Yeah, again, you're standing up on it's a unique par 3 because of how downhill it is.
Yeah.
When I think of the first, par 3 on the front side, hole 6, it's up the hill. So your tee shot, you're kind of protected. You might not feel the wind, even though if there's wind up there. Like, there's no escaping the wind. It's a higher point in the property. The tee box at number 9, hitting down onto that green. There's no hiding from it, and you're going to have to hit a really precise shot into that green. It was one that I was really hoping to see in 2017, and because there was no wind, I mean, for the men, it played a lot easier. And for the women, too. You're going to put a wedge in your hand, a wedge in some of these women's hands, maybe a 9-iron for some of the women with no wind. Guess what? They're going to be pretty accurate. You get the wind, and you're not able to hide from it. It starts to play with, okay, how do I have to hit this shot?
And the fun thing about the infrastructure around 9 is you don't always feel that wind when you're down low, but you're on top of that hill. That's one of the highest points here at Erin Hills on that tee box. You feel it, and the wind can do wonders on 9. I think about Nelly in particular, not to bring up her demons in the past, but last year at Lancaster, she made a 10 on a par 3. That ended up pretty much ruling her out of the tournament. She fired an 80 in the opening round of the U.S. Women's Open last year. She's going to step aboard on number 9 and say, this is a hole that anybody can make a 10 on this week. If you find yourself in the wrong bunker and you go bunker to bunker, I mean, anybody that's played number 9 here at Erin Hills, the nickname of it is the shortest par 5 in America. And that's the joke, is that anybody can make a 5 and no problem. I think you could see a really big score. I think 9 is going to be the golf hole on this property that humbles the field.
Well, because if you missed in the wrong spot, depending upon where the pin is, you miss one of those bunkers left, it's just hard to get the ball to stop.
Yeah.
It starts running away from you, and if the wind is blowing left to right, you have to hit a downhill bunker shot. Good luck stopping it and keeping it on the green. It's going to be a really tough hole. Just kind of talking to, hearing some of the other women talk, obviously 18 is always going to play a factor. I think they're going to play that at 555 yards.
Yep.
So it's not going to be – they'll have the opportunity, it seems, to play number 7 up, and they'll have the opportunity to play number 14 up. Those could be the reachable par 5s. But I think, you take a look at 1. Maybe some of the longer hitters like Nelly, maybe they get home in 2 there. I don't think anybody's getting home in 2. I think that's going to be a true 3-shot par 5 on 18, which when you do that, and if the wind is whipping with the green the way that green is, it's not, okay, are you making a birdie coming in? Maybe you're trying to hold on to the lead, and usually a par 5 finishing hole in a major championship venue, you're thinking, all right, they're thinking birdie, they're going to make a par and be able to wrap this thing up. Par is not guaranteed, I think, on 18, the distance that they're going to play in number 18.
You know what's going to be fun is I keep harping on the weather, but it truly is going to dictate this championship, because what the players played yesterday were relatively calm winds. Today it's picking up. Tomorrow we're expecting rain. And that's how you prepare for a U.S. Open, because championship play begins on Thursday, and it might be elements that they haven't prepared for in a golf course that nobody really knows out here. I mean, the only person in the field who has played it is Allison Corpuz, and she played it as a 10-year-old in 2008.
She was in the Women's Amateur Pub Links that was out here in 2008.
That Tiffany Joe one, who
yes.
You can listen back on Wisconsin On Demand, our interview with Tiffany. She won that year, and she was 10 years old. She's here 17 years later playing in a U.S. Women's Open, and she joked last night when she spoke to the media, she doesn't really remember much about the course at all.
Well, because,
think about her yardages, how much they've changed from 10 years old to 27.
I mean, first of all, the course has changed quite a bit since then,
yeah.
Right? Like in some of the ways, I mean, you think of the back tee box, it doesn't even exist anymore on number 1. But, yeah, I don't think I'd remember playing much other than, my home golf course from when I played golf as a 10-year-old, much less her playing high-level competitive golf. This place had to seem so – first of all, it is a large piece of property for an adult. It's a huge piece of property for a 10-year-old walking around this place.
I couldn't even imagine. I guess being that young, you probably – nerves hit you completely different than when you're maybe in your mid-20s and doing this as a profession, but – how could you remember any shot as a 10-year-old? I'd be blacked out the entire time.
I can't even imagine. But again, that's the type of lack of experience that they have here. We're going to hear how somebody else prepared for it in an interesting way. World number 3, Lydia Ko. We're going to hear from her in a little bit from her press conference. But coming up next, we had an opportunity to catch up with a couple of players. You're going to hear those interviews. But I do want to tell you about a beautiful hidden lakeside course in Delavan, Wisconsin at Majestic Oaks. Tee off, and of course, with over 2 miles of lakefront where wide fairways and challenging greens await. This lakeside 18-hole course offers a golfing experience like no other. And here's the best part. Join them for the best family golf nights in the state. Everyone can enjoy the game together, enjoy golf, cart, drinks, snacks. Right, golf, truck, that's a lot of things there,
Yeah,
Steven.
that sounds fun.
Under $15 a person.
What?
At Majestic Oaks. Several membership options. You can find the perfect fit for your lifestyle. If you're ready to play, book your tee time today. LakeLawnResort.com for Majestic Oaks Golf Course. On the tee, 80th U.S. Women's Open Championship at one of Stephen Mai's favorite places, Erin Hills. We're welcomed in by one-time major champion Hannah Green. Hannah, thank you so much for jumping on with us.
Thank you for having me.
So I guess where we start is with this venue. Have you had a chance to get out, play a couple practice rounds? What do you think so far?
Yeah, so I've seen all 18. I arrived on Saturday night, which is very early. I don't ever usually get into a championship this early, but I knew it was going to be a beast of a course, so I wanted to see it as many times as possible. It's playing long. The greens aren't too firm just yet. Fairway's a little bouncy, but yeah, it's a lot of long irons in compared to what we're used to, and it's a lot of blind shots. So I feel like the more you play, the easier it kind of gets to trust those lines. There was one hole, my caddy yesterday on 11 was like telling me, yeah, you need to hit it out here, and I was like, really? Like it just doesn't feel kind of right. But sure enough, he was right. He did all the work. But yeah, it's going to be a really good week. I think we're all super excited and happy to be here. So we'll see what happens.
What was the buzz for this championship venue coming in, and what has the reality been like for you since you've gotten a chance to walk all 18 at this point?
Yeah, I mean, everyone said it was going to be a tough venue, which it certainly is, and I think we've been pretty fortunate with the weather. It hasn't been super windy just yet, but it is probably longer than what we typically play. There are some short gettable holes for sure, and it really does depend on which way the wind is blowing, I guess, but it kind of has lived up to what I expected, and I'm sure what most girls have felt, but it does feel different in a sense. I feel like every time we play US Open, it's it is thick, rough, don't get me wrong, but the trees, like just being wide open, there's nothing out there. So when you're out there, you're out there. So that's probably the only thing that doesn't feel like a normal USGA event. But yeah, it's been really good playing out here.
As we talk with Hannah Green here on the tee, 94.5 ESPN. So you mentioned the blind shots, no trees. Does that make it tougher for you to try to figure out, okay, what exactly is it I'm aiming at?
Yes, 100%. There's a couple holes where it's like, straight at the porta potty. That's your line. There's a couple aerials out there, but there's also like a couple of mounds where they meet. So it's not like, that tree or that smaller tree. It is kind of hard to pick your lines, and making sure that we have the right aerial or the right mound is kind of the thing that we'll be figuring out in the practice rounds. But I mean, it's beautiful. I really hope that people come out and watch. We've got the best players in the world all here this week, so hopefully there's a lot of spectators. You've
won a women's PGA. You're a 6-time winner on the LPGA Tour. What is it going to take to win on this venue this week?
Yeah, I was saying in an interview earlier, you always want to hit fairways, obviously, but I think people are going to miss greens. You just want to make sure that you're missing them in the right areas and giving yourself the best chances to make sure you're not making doubles, bogey at worst, obviously, but it really depends on, I think, what the wind direction will do. Yesterday, I hit a bad drive on the 17th. I hit it in the heel, but I had 3-wood into a par 4, so I was like, oh, yeah. But it depends on what the wind's going to do, so we'll see. I think it's just making sure that you don't get too ahead of yourself. You're going to make those bogeys, and maybe trying to capitalize on the chances where you do make a birdie.
Hannah Green joining us here on the tee as we get ready for the 80th playing of the U.S. Women's Open here at Erin Hills. So Stephen mentioned you won the PGA back in 2019. Your U.S. Open record's gotten better, and the last couple of years you've been able to finish in the top 20. Yep. What about your game has been able to translate better now to U.S. Opens as you've played more of them?
Yeah, I think when I first came out on tour I wasn't very long, so that really made it difficult when it comes to major championships. When I won KPMG it was kind of a surprise, and I was one very short hitter but also not very accurate, so I think as I've got
a great combination.
Yeah, really good. But I putted my ass off, so that's fine. But I think just when you want to win major championships, usually the person that wins makes a lot of putts. Putting is always important no matter what week it is, so I think making sure that I give myself the best opportunities to make a holeable putt. But yeah, hitting fairways, hitting greens, just playing boring golf. It's hard to do, but I'm hoping that's what I can
boring
do.
is good in this game. A lot of people want to be sexy, but boring wins a lot of events.
100%.
You mentioned making putts. They've closed the course down to public play, much like they did for the Men's Open back in 2017. How are the greens rolling with really very little play on them up to this championship?
Yeah, no, they're really true. A couple of the local caddies were saying some of the holes, there's not actually as much break as you may read. So I think it's important trying to actually go out there and play as much as possible as versus doing a lot of practice. But they're rolling really nice. I played Sunday morning, and since then they've definitely quickened up. It feels like a little bit slow uphill, but then downhill, some putts you just can't even go for the actual hole because it's just going to take the slope and keep going. So I think they're at the right pace now. I feel like they might get a little bit firmer as the week goes on, but it depends, again, with this rain forecasted, how much we're going to actually get. So yeah, it's looking really good, and I think everyone's really happy with how the course is looking.
So, Hannah, you're from Australia. You mentioned you came to this venue a little bit earlier than you usually do in preparation for a new course that you haven't seen. Have you been to Wisconsin before?
No, this is my first time. I've technically driven through Wisconsin because I went to Michigan for an Epson Tour event back in 2017, but I have not actually stopped in Wisconsin and played any golf or ate any cheese or anything like that. So.
Well, we have great golf here.
Yes.
It was kind of leading into my next question of, is there something you feel like you have to do to experience being here that also, works alongside of your preparations for the golf course itself?
Yeah, well, I am a big fan of cheese, and I actually was in New York recently and did a pizza tour. So a lot of Wisconsin, was mentioned with a lot of the dairy products and things like that. So I was like, well, I was kind of hoping they maybe would have it in dining for us, but I might just have to go venture and find some myself, and I'll be the test of it. But unfortunately, it's actually been such a long week already. Even though I did get it here on Saturday, I haven't really had the opportunity to do anything else. So, and I am also flying out 6 a.m. on Monday, so I don't really know if I'll have the chance to see Wisconsin or Milwaukee. But maybe if they hear this, they might bring something into dining.
And maybe you can delay your flight if you celebrate your trophy come Sunday night.
100%.
So you said you've gotten to play all 18. What's your favorite hole? What's the toughest hole?
I think the 9th is actually kind of a favorite. I think it could cause some carnage, though. It's only a short par 3, but depending on, again, the wind and where the pin position is, it actually might not seem as easy as what people would, from the outside looking, might be. I actually think 18 is quite tough with how the green is to the pin on the left side. It's like you'll have a wedge in, but then it's like, does it spin? Like, will it bounce? It's actually quite a tricky hole, and whether you want to be aggressive or not, that'll be obviously what happens when we play it. But I think it's going to maybe catch some people out. It won't be a typical par 5 where you're just expecting to make a birdie. So I think that'll be good for a last hole.
Pro tip, as somebody who's played this golf course many times, don't go long on 18.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Learn from experience. It's not the place you want to be.
I did not hit a chip shot from there because I will not be going down there.
That's a good way to prepare. Don't even bring it into this space. Love that.
Absolutely love it. Hannah, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for the time. Best of luck this week.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you for the time.
Continuing with Sarah Schmelzel as she joins us here on the tee before the 80th playing of the U.S. Women's Open at Erin Hills. Sarah, thank you so much for jumping on with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you're coming in T6 in the last major championship at the Chevron. What went well for you there, and what do you think can translate for you here at Erin Hills?
Yeah, I did a really good job at Chevron of not beating myself. I didn't necessarily have my A game tee to green, but I did a really good job of not letting my attitude change because of that, and I just grinded out some really, really good golf over the 4 days and had some shining moments that helped me score and made some birdies as well. So I think overall just taking that kind of grinder mentality into this week and not letting my attitude get up and down based on, how I'm hitting it or not hitting it, and just trying to score the best I can.
Is this your first time at Erin Hills?
It is.
What are your impressions of the ballpark?
Yeah, it's a big golf course. It's going to be a really, really good test. Definitely test all parts of your game, from course management to, long game, short game, putting, everything. So I think it's really a total test, which, we always look for at a U.S. Open. You
can kind of hear it in our microphones right now. The wind's starting to pick up. How do you prepare when the elements are out of your control?
Yeah, I think that's when I just try to have the best mentality possible to not let it get to me too much, and especially on a golf course like this when the wind picks up, everyone's going to be making bogeys. It's just about minimizing damage and then taking advantage of opportunities when you do have them. So I think it's all about having a great mentality and just kind of plotting along.
Sarah Schmelzer, our guest here on the tee as we get ready for the 80th U.S. Women's Open at Erin Hills. When it is such a big ballpark like this, is kind of having some of that patience you were talking about, knowing people are going to make bogeys, does that continue to come into effect here?
Yeah, I think so. Some of these holes are just so hard. They're going to play over par, and making bogey really might not be a bogey, and it might be a par that day, and really, making doubles or more is actually what's going to hurt you. So I think you're going to hit bad shots. You're going to get kicked in the teeth a little bit, and you just have to take your medicine, minimize the damage, and move on, and try and make a birdie on the next hole or whenever your next scoring opportunity is.
When you come to a venue for the first time, is there a number you have in your head, or are you very process-driven, shot by shot, hole by hole, or do you say, I'm looking to get to 15 under by the end of the week and see where that takes me?
Yeah, I'm definitely more process-oriented. I kind of leave that side of it to my caddy. If he's got a number, and then that's how we're kind of dictating how we're playing each hole. But for the most part, we like to play pretty conservatively, especially in a tournament like this where birdies are going to be hard to come by. It's more about minimizing damage and really grinding out a good score more than anything. So I think we just take that throughout the week more than really trying to reach a goal of a number.
When you're seeing a golf course for the first time, I imagine you're getting as much prep in this week, but leading up to it, are you watching YouTube highlights? Are you watching Brooks Koepka's win here in 2017?
Yeah, it was funny. I was watching the highlights from JT's round when he shot, what was it, 9 under, 8 under?
Yeah.
And some of the shots he was hitting, like that 3-wood that he hit into 18, you kind of look at the green and you're like, how on earth did he hit that shot? How did he get it to stop? So that's really fun. I mean, I think the biggest part about watching any of the highlights is you still see like how fearless those guys are with some of the shots that they were hitting, the lines they were taking. It was like they were still trying to make birdies, which, I think it's easy at a golf tournament like this, on a course like this, to think you kind of have to dial back a little bit. So it's cool to watch how aggressive they still are, and for us to take that into this week as well.
Did you go and look at the plaque that they have on 18? So it's just there's in the fairway over there, it's just a little circle, Erin Hills logo. It doesn't say JT. And it's one of those things, if you know, you know. Yeah. And then you just kind of stand there and kind of have that same reaction of, what?
Yeah, I know. It looks like it's off on an island over there. It's like, here, that's not even on the green.
Yeah.
This is not your first time in Wisconsin. You played the PHC Classic a number of years ago when he was at Brown Deer. What were your memories of playing golf in that event?
Yeah, I mean, Wisconsin golf is fun. I think Midwest golf is really fun. It's so green, it's so lush. You're going to get great greens and just great conditions in general around the greens. It's fun to chip off of. You can generate a lot of spin. So it's great memories. I mean, the weather's been amazing this week as well. Hopefully that rain is only tomorrow and not the rest of the week. But obviously really fond memories to look back on and see how far I've come since then as well.
You had mentioned tough holes out here. Which ones stand out to you that are going to be the biggest test for you and for the field this week?
Yeah, I think you get off to an easier start on 1 and 2, and then kind of 3 through 6 are really, really good holes. And then you got maybe 7's a little bit of a scoring chance, and you got 8 and 9 that are really hard again. So they just kind of, all of them are hard, I think.
Should I rephrase? Yeah. Which are the easy holes out here?
I know, even 14 for us, it's probably going to be reachable as long as the wind is favorable, and even when those pins are on the right, like, you can still make a mess of it, even though it's a reachable par 5. So I think that's what's so neat about this golf course is even when you feel like you might have a birdie hole, like a wedge or something, you still might be playing it to 25 feet just to minimize any sort of wrong miss. So I think that's what makes this place so special.
It seems like the USGA has really made an effort over the last 5, 6, 7 years of making sure that they're also, for the women's game, coming to some of the venues. And this is one a handful now that's had a women's open, had a men's open. What are your thoughts on that effort that the USGA has been making to get the women's game to some of these, more iconic courses?
Yeah, I mean, Mike Wan has obviously done a great job. He did with the LPGA and then now with the USGA. They're just doing such a great job of getting us the exposure, and I think making us a part of history of the game too. You've seen people win you've seen the men win U.S. Opens at Pebble Beach, and now you've got Allison Corpus stamped in the record books forever there. You'll have someone here this week. And so I think being able to add the women's side of the game and our history onto the men's side and all these historic wins that have happened at these amazing golf courses, I think it's huge for women's golf and our exposure.
You mentioned that you've played in Solheim Cups, you've played in major championships. Just what do you think of the growth of the game on the women's side?
Oh, it's exponential. It just keeps getting better and better. Our sponsors really, really believe in women's golf. They believe in us as individuals as well. And, I think when we get eyes on us, people are impressed with our games, with the type of people we are, the way that we interact with our fans and sponsors and everything. So, it's just been amazing to see how much it's grown since I've been on tour and how positive that is for, looking forward, how much it's going to grow in the next 5, 10, 20 years.
Sarah, certainly appreciate the time. Best of luck this week.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The next best round of golf for you is going to be happening at the Wisconsin Country Club. Hey, do what Steven and I did. Join out at the Wisconsin Country Club. Great, some of the things that we love. No assessments, no food and beverage minimums, and a beautiful golf course that's fun and challenging. And even you might see Steven Watson out there. I haven't seen him out there.
Got my first round in this week, Gabe.
I did see rumors had it that Steven Watson was actually on the grounds of the Wisconsin Country Club this weekend. Family and all.
I was there, and I definitely peaked way too early on my golf season. Probably shot my round of the summer, first round out there, and I don't know how I'm going to beat it. It was one of those, first round glow moments where everything just kind of felt right, and you're having an out-of-body experience. Oh, man. I love that golf course. Been out there this is my 7th or 8th summer now.
Well,
that was the second best score I've ever shot out there.
Again, we'll see if I actually ever see Steven out there because he's a busy man. But Wisconsin Country Club, tennis, pickleball courts as well, and a pool that opened this last weekend with themed Sunday fun days each and every week. Get started today. Visit thewisconsincountryclub.com for membership info. The Wisconsin Country Club, just a fairway away. We're not out there today. We are out at Erin Hills, just off the driving range before the 80th playing of the U.S. Women's Open. And one of the questions, Steven, that continues to come up with these women, hey, how are you preparing for this? Because it's, a conversation that happens quite a bit. Men or women, okay, how are you preparing for a major? But this is unique, much like in 2017, there isn't a lot of experience playing this golf course specifically.
Yeah.
You mentioned Allison Corpus, the only one in the field who's actually played a competitive round out here, and she did that at 10 years old 20 years ago. Or, just a little under 20 years ago. So that's a question that keeps coming up for these women.
Yeah, and it's unique because we talked to Mike Wan about it, a couple weeks ago when we had him on the tee, just about how they're trying to make sure that the women are going to the similar venues as the men. And that's why the U.S. Open is here at Erin Hills, just like it was at Pebble Beach before, and Oakmont, and number 2 at Pinehurst. And, for a lot of these golfers, they're starting to see this rotation where you're not seeing similar golf courses every single year, and you're seeing championship venues. So for them to come out here, most of these people don't golf in the Midwest.
Yeah.
They're not crazy. No, they'd like to play in California and Florida and
Arizona,
overseas. Yeah. That's what makes this place so special is there is not a ton of history here, but there's incredible history in a short amount of time. And for the people who are coming here, they've heard about the history. They've watched the history. They watched the world's best men played in 2017, and now it's their shot to come out here and see what they can do on this property.
Lydia Ko, here's what she had to say. World number 3. She's already a Hall of Famer because the LPGA does a point system. She's already got enough points. Here's what she had to say about preparing to play Erin Hills.
In all honesty, I watched some YouTube golf before coming here and seeing how they played and just kind of get an idea of what the golf course is like. And it's obviously it plays very differently compared to when the men's played here in 2017. So it's you don't really know until you get here, but the course is difficult. It's fun. I think you need a lot of creativity, and as for any, I think U.S. Women's Open, the course tends to change in regards to firmness and the green speed from Monday to Sunday. So yeah, I'm excited to see how the course changes over the next couple of days. But yeah, it's a great golf course. I think it's fun. I don't think it's like for one type of player, which is something that I tend to really prefer because it kind of brings the whole field into it, and hopefully I can hit some good shots and get a few good lucky bounces and kind of go from there.
That audio from Lydia Ko. It's the Gem of the Week, brought to you by the Jewelry Center. Engagement rings, wedding bands, gifts for that special someone, even repairs That's where my mom got her ring repaired. It all happens at the Jewelry Center. Visit their 3 locations, Greenfield, Brookfield, and in Burlington, or online, shoptjc.com. And the thing that stood out to me there, Stephen, we can dive into watching YouTube golf to get a feel for the course.
What a world.
Is just a funny statement to make, but it's true. But also her talking about, hey, I don't think this favors one type of player, which is so rare, I think, in really men or women's professional golf, where distance has really just taken over so much of the conversation. Example on the men's side, you got to be a long hitter in order to win at Quail Hollow. That's what it was. If you're Brian Harmon, sorry, pal, this isn't the major for you. Not going to be really, a serious threat at the top of that major leaderboard. So for her to say that, I think that's a huge compliment to the golf course, that they have found that the way that this golf course was built, they found a way to keep everybody in it. And I think we saw that on the leaderboard for the men. Speaking of Brian Harmon, he was on top of that leaderboard back in 2017. Obviously, Brooks Koepka ends up winning it.
Tommy Fleetwood was up there. Ricky Fowler was up there.
But it was a mix of, bombers and not bombers when it was here for the men in 2017. And obviously, that's something that Lydia noticed getting ready for this major.
Lydia Ko, it sounded like she was reading the USGA mission statement right there of what they want to see in a U.S. Open venue, though. But it speaks to they want it to test every club in your bag, right? That is what the U.S. Open.
How many times did we hear that from Nelly today, too?
Yeah, and to your point about Nelly is one of the longest hitters. That's what has made her one of the most successful golfers of all time, world number 1 for 52 straight weeks right now. And even she said, long doesn't necessarily mean better out here, because it actually means there's a tighter window for me to hit it in because I'm that long. And for anybody who's been on this property, you know that the landing spots are big, wide fairways, but where you hit those fairways is really where your ball can end up, and that's how you get the advantage. When you hit those speed slots, I think about the 10th hole out here. It's a huge half-acre wide fairway, but if you find that right corner, it's going to rip you down another 40 yards, and all of a sudden, a long par 4 becomes a manageable par 4. You think of number 12, the way that hole snakes around, the Kettle Moraine Glacier formation there, and it's one of the coolest and most picturesque holes on this property, but you hit it in the right spot, and all of a sudden you've got a short wedge in your hand for a par 4, and that's what makes this golf course so fun, is you can be long, but you got to be accurate. You can't just bomb it around here, and even though the fescue isn't up, it's still hard rough. So you have to hit fairways, and you can be a plotter if you're comfortable enough with hitting long irons and even some fairway woods, which we just heard from a couple of the players who are out here for the first time, is, you might have driver 3-wood out here.
Into a par 4.
Into a par 4, depending on the wind in particular. But I think it really is going to be fascinating to see how differently the women play it from the men. Because I do think that this is a better venue for the women in that it will test every single club in your bag, just strictly because of the elements and the length of the golf course. They're going to play this up to 6,800 yards. Mm-hmm. That's no joke. And I'm just really excited to see how they attack different parts of this golf course and the strategy necessary, particularly around the greens. These greens have not been touched this entire summer, outside of some media hacks like ourselves who were out here for Media Day a couple weeks ago. It has barely been touched. The green looks incredible. And these are some of the best greens I have ever putted on in my entire life. I imagine the players would say the exact same thing.
Well, that's what the men were saying back in 2017, and that was a few weeks later when they had the U.S. Men's Open out here, and the course, again, that's just the dedication that Erin Hills has to hosting these USGA championships and closing the golf course down, not allowing any public play out before these championships, because they want to have the best conditions possible for the best players in the world. And again, it's kind of nice to hear these players say these things about a place that we hold. It kind of reaffirms what we already feel about this golf course, Stephen, what we feel about this place. But the other thing that Nelly had mentioned is the bunkering.
Yep.
And how a lot of times, again, not even just around the green, but a lot of the fairway bunkers, kind of true hazards out here, because you're not just going to be able to launch it and rip it out of there. It's a true kind of one-shot penalty where, all right, you just got to dump it out of here and then try to avoid a double bogey. So I really think it's going to be a really good test, especially, again, as I'm just about to talk about the wind, you can hear it picking up.
Yeah.
It feels like the wind is going to be a factor out here, and it's something that the players are going to have to keep in mind.
I thought it was interesting to hear from Sarah Schmelzer just about how bogeys are going to be okay. Like that mental part of the U.S. Open is so fascinating on the men's and women's side. Is these players are wired to make low numbers.
Yeah.
And when you start seeing bogeys and squares on your scorecard, how does that test you mentally out here?
I think about this because there used to be the LPGA event up in Green Bay at Thornberry Creek. And I can't remember who won that tournament, but I believe she set the LPGA scoring record. Like, it was like 31 under par.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. You know, you're just most weeks, a lot of weeks on the LPGA, on the PGA Tour, pin your ears back, make as many birdies as you can. But when you come to a U.S. Open, that's part of the mental, and that's something that Mike Wan always says, right?
Yep.
Like, he always wants to test that mental part of the game as well. So even
the 14 in your bag and the 1 between your ears.
He's only been around for a year, and everybody's heard it at this point at every press conference Mike Wan has given. But to hear a player go, yeah, that's something I have to get accustomed to and not let my attitude change, because there are bogeys out there, and bogeys are going to be okay sometimes. And even maybe a bogey's not going to hurt you as much because that hole is playing pretty close to a bogey anyway for the rest of the field. So I think you're going to see that with some of these holes, especially if the wind picks up, where some of the fours are playing to 4.5.
Yeah.
And instead of, you make a par, it almost feels like a birdie. And the bogey, yeah, it hurts, but it doesn't hurt as much.
I'll say it again. Wind gusts on the weekend are expected to be between 18 and 25 miles per hour. We're going to see some carnage out here. We're going to see some big numbers. It's how these players respond to those numbers that's going to end up having somebody holding the U.S. Open trophy by Sunday night here at Erin Hills.
Again, thanks to our friends at Erin Hills. You can play Erin Hills. Golf Digest 10th ranked public course in the nation on their latest. It's top 50 in the country as well. Charming overnight accommodations, championship golf experience. Come out to the U.S. Women's Open. Championship rounds begin this Thursday through Sunday. Learn more at erinhills.com. We give our one call. That's coming up next on the tee. On the tee, 80th playing of the U.S. Women's Open, the longest played women's major. Excited for it, and we have the tee times, Stephen, starting Thursday, 1:25 p.m. Nelly Korda, world number 1, going out with Charlie Hull, who has been a very popular player on the women's side, and Lexi Thompson, who has also been a very popular player who has played in, I think it's her 1,000th U.S. Women's Open, something like that.
This is outrageous. This is her 19th U.S. Women's Open, and she's 30 years old. Think about that.
It's outrageous.
Coming in and out of retirement, having her own Brett Favre moment, but it's so good for golf when Lexi Thompson's in the field, and what a story it would be if she contends this weekend.
And she does. I think she showed the one thing a couple of years ago when she played in the match. Like, she's got a fun personality, and if she gets into contention, I think that's certainly going to get a lot of attention from a lot of people. So that's certainly one of the feature groups. 1:25 p.m., 7:40 a.m., going off hole 1 and then going off hole 10, flipping it around the next morning.
A couple of notables in the field, just, for people who might not be familiar with the women's game like the men's game, a couple of past champions to keep of note. Of course, Yuka Saso, 2-time U.S. Women's Open winner, defending champion from a year ago at Lancaster. Allison Corpuz, mentioned her already. She played here as a 10-year-old. She's a defending U.S. Open champion back in 2023. Minji Lee, the sister of Minwoo Lee on the men's side. She's a 2022 U.S. Women's Open winner. She's somebody who can contend, really starting to hit her stride this season. Mentioned Lexi, of course, world number 1, Nelly, and Charlie Hull, some of the notables. Rose Zhang is actually back playing after dealing with a neck injury in the early part of this season. The Stanford product, who's one of the great stories in all of golf. She's expected to contend always when she's in the field. Still looking for her first major as well.
7:51 is her tee time off of hole 10 on Thursday, 1:36 on Friday, playing alongside Gino Titacool, Lilia Vu, and then Rose Zhang is that threesome. So that's another pretty good group, pretty powerful group out there.
Yeah, 156 players in the field, and you're going to see the top players in the world on display at Erin Hills. And I think it's going to be really fun just to see how the cream rises to the top on a golf course that none of them have ever played before. And I think a lot of pressure is going to be on Nelly Korda because she's not having the season. She's having a very Scotty Scheffler season, right? Like this time last year, she had won 6 times already in the season.
Yeah.
She hasn't won yet this year. So we're like, what is wrong with Nelly? And all of a sudden you start looking at her stats. She's like, she's like kind of in contention every single week. Has a bunch of top 10s already. She's trying to add a U.S. Women's Open to her resume already as a 2-time major winner. don't sleep on Nelly Korda. It's a wild sentence to say, but we slept on Scottie Scheffler last week at the PGA Championship. And
we did.
I know Sasso is probably a favorite coming in as the defending U.S. Women's Open champion, but, I mean, Nelly's got a lot to prove out this week, and I know that she, just hearing from her earlier today, this is a trophy she wants to raise high by the end of Sunday.
Yeah, and look, I mean, this is something that we've heard from a number of people from the USGA as we've gotten ready for this championship here on the tee. I mean, this is the championship. We're a lot of times when we talk on the men's side, like, oh, it's the Masters, right? Like, if you want to win one, like you want to win at Augusta because it's going to give you this, you're going to be a memorable champion. You think of guys like Charles Schwartzel, who only won one. And guys like that. Like, that's the one you want to win. On the women's side, yes, they have 5 majors. This is the one. It's been around the longest. It's been played. And this was something that Mike Wan pointed out on Media Day out here. Like, the LPGA has not been around as long as the U.S. Women's Open. And it's the longest championship. It's the one that they want to win because they have identified, the USGA, and they've been very serious about this, especially with Mike Wan at the helm, and you talked about this earlier, identifying great golf courses, and that's where we want our championships to be. And this is one that a lot of these women want to get out there and win.
And if you're headed over to Potawatomi Sportsbook, you want to put some bets on the Women's Open this upcoming weekend, here's a really fun statistic for you. I mentioned Sasso being somebody who's favorited just because she's the past champion and is having another good season, but there has not been a repeat champion since Carrie Webb in 2000-2001. 21 different champions in the U.S. Women's Open in 23 tournaments since then. Sasso, Inbee Park are the only two that have won multiple in that span. So think about that. Think about somebody who has not won one. It's on deck. There have been 12 different players that have won on the LPGA this season. Not a single repeat champion just in this LPGA season. So the amount of talent that's out on this golf course right now, it truly is anyone's for the taking, which I think will make for a really fun championship come Sunday. What's your dream Sunday pairing here at Erin Hills?
So one call, that's all. Dream Sunday pairing as we get down to it. I mean, I think Nelly's got to be part of it.
Yeah.
I think Nelly, especially going after that first U.S. Women's Open. Man, and I'm trying to think of somebody who would be really fun. Could be Lauren Coughlin, like, as she's going for that first major championship. She's somebody that really in the last year has come on really strong.
Yeah.
She has won a championship here in the state of Wisconsin. She's a former PHC champion back on the old Symetra tour when it was going to Brown Deer and the tour came through there. She won a PHC. She's won a couple of times now on the LPGA tour. She's been on she's been on in the team competitions, right? She's played in those. Major championship is kind of the next thing. She's in the top 10 of the world, and yet is still kind of flying under the radar a little bit. So I think somebody like that being in that final grouping with Nelly, somebody trying to break through, win that first championship, and another person trying to grow that, I think would be fun. I mean, Lydia Ko, as great as she is, to pick up a first U.S. Women's Open, her being in that final grouping, I think would be really strong as well.
My Gruber Law says one call that's all pick is going to be Lydia Ko. She's trying to complete the Grand Slam on the women's side, and I think this is the one that she gets it done. It's a place that you need to be a crafty, experienced player. I don't see a young golfer coming out here and winning on this golf course. I think you need to have kind of every trick in the bag. You have to some miles on your resume, and you have that in Lydia Ko, the 28-year-old who's ranked 3rd in the world right now. She's won 23 times on the LPGA. She has 3 majors. She's made 6 of 7 cuts with 3 top 10 finishes already this year. She has top 5 finishes in every single major. She just hasn't won this one. And there are 5 majors on the women's side, but they consider this to be the final leg of the Grand Slam for her. And I think Lydia Ko is going to be the champion come Sunday. Do I want to see Rose Zhang and Nelly Korda, dueling on Sunday? Of course. Do I want to see Charlie Hull and Nelly Korda having a rematch of their Solheim Cup match on Sunday?
Yeah.
Sign me up. But if you're asking me who's going to win this championship, I think the Hall of Famer, the gold medalist at the Olympics, the 3-time major winner is going to become a 4-time major winner in Lydia Ko come Sunday.
A couple more numbers I just want to throw your way. Former world number 1, who was really dominant back in the day, Yanni Zhang, is in this field. It's been 13 years since she's played a U.S. Women's Open.
Wow.
She qualified through Arizona, so that was kind of fun. 620 total acres here. 40 acres of fairway, 10 acres of rough, and 150-plus acres of native rough here at Erin Hills. And it is 1,756 yards from the clubhouse to the 16th tee, which is the farthest point away from the property. So that is a long mile walk from 16, 17, 18. Should be fun. I can't wait for it. We've got some special programming. We will be on our YouTube page to give you recaps on Thursday and Friday, live shows to get you ready on Saturday and Sunday from 9 until 10 a.m. So we're going to have this U.S. Women's Open covered. Cannot wait for it.
It's going to be fun. What an opportunity to watch the best in the world play here in Wisconsin. If you have a chance to come out here and walk this golf course, if you've never seen it before or you've never seen some of these women play, it will be worth your time. Come out to Erin Hills, enjoy the experience. We don't know when we're getting a tournament of this magnitude back in Wisconsin, so take advantage of it.
Yeah, please support it. If you can't, take a look at us throughout the tournament.